Hi, today we're going to talk about things that you can do to make sure that you're ready for a video call before you get started. So our first two steps are to set up your sources and set up your interactives. And these could happen in either order, but we'll start with setting up your sources. So as I'm preparing to video conference with my American religion class here, this is an imaginary class, I want to make sure that I have everything pulled up where I can easily see it and show it to my students during class or reference it myself. So I've taken the time here in this browser window to pull up the Canvas course in case I need to refer to that. I'm going to be showing a video to my students. So I've pulled up the YouTube video, which is loading now, and I've actually played through the ad and then muted it and paused it so that it's ready to go when I want to show it. And you could also open up things like files that you want to share in Google Drive so that you could easily drop a link into the video call chat, slides if you were going to do a slide presentation, and things like that. Step 2 is to set up your interactives. And by interactives, I mean anything that you're going to have your students do live during class. If I was using Google Meet for my class, I could open that Meet call early, come into the call, and click this little menu with the shapes here, which is the activities menu, and do things like set up my polling questions in advance of the call, and then they'd be saved. So you should also take this step into account if you're using, say, Kahoot, or if you're putting together polling questions that you're not setting up in advance, type them out in a Google document so you can easily copy paste them into the chat, things like that. So step 1, to pull up all your content. Step 2, to set up your interactives. Those two steps together should be done by T-minus 15 minutes before your class session starts. Now, step 3 is a little bit different. We've thought about setting up your materials and setting up your interactives, but step 3 is to think about the physical space in which you are going to be conducting your class. So one thing to think about, for example, is your lighting. And you can see that in my office space here, I've considered which lights I want to have on. I want to have one on that makes it easy to see my notebook, and which lights I don't want to have on, like my ring light, because I'm using natural light from outside since it's during the daytime. And if you are using natural light from outside, you'd also want to consider whether your curtains are open or closed and whether there's glare on your face. The next thing that I'm going to think about is whether I'm warm enough or cool enough in the summer. So I'm going to turn on my heater over here with the sunshine. I also want to think about whether I have all of my lecture notes on paper that I'm going to use handy and whether I have a notebook and pen handy. Then I'm going to think about keeping myself ready to speak. So I've got some water here on my desk. You might have water, you might have coffee, you might have cough drops. Have those things set to go in advance. And then I'm going to think about my technology. Is my technology hardware ready to go? So in this case, I've made sure my computer is plugged into charge, and I've also made sure that my mouse and keyboard are charged because they're cordless, and it would be bad if I lost my ability to interact with my students during class. And then finally, I like to have a backup device on hand. So you can see there in that white flash, I've got an iPad there that is also logged into all of my accounts. And if my computer were to crash, I could grab it real quick, click the calendar link from my Google Calendar and rejoin the class almost before anyone noticed that I was gone.
All right, and we've now achieved step 4, check your tech. So at this point, you should be at about T-minus 10 minutes to the start of class. And what I mean by check your tech is make sure that your microphone, camera, and speakers are working so that you can interact with your students without any technical snafus at the beginning of class. And at this point, if you're not already in your class call, go ahead and join it. And the first thing I want to do is check and make sure my camera's working. So right now, my camera and microphone are off. So I'm going to turn on my camera and just make sure that it is actually coming on and then capturing me, and I'm at the right angle to the camera, and my lighting is more or less okay, and things like that. So we know my camera works. That's great. I'm going to turn it off so it's less distracting to us right now. We also want to check audio, and this can be a little trickier if there's no one there to hear you, but in some video conferencing programs, at least, if you turn your microphone on, you get some kind of visual feedback that shows that the computer is picking up some sound from you. So that's what's happening right here. But you can also check in your preferred program settings to make sure that it's looking for the right microphone, the right camera, and sending output to the right speakers. So in Meet, I would just go over to settings and look for the microphone, speaker, and camera settings. And you might identify a problem here. So I'm not wearing headphones, but I know that these are headphones. And so right now, if I started trying to talk to my students with no headphones on, they wouldn't be able to hear me. So I'd want to switch this for the microphone in the computer, or I'd want to go and put my headset on. We should now be at a few minutes before classes start. You may have students trickling in, you may not. This is time you can take to sip your coffee, check your lecture notes, and just get ready to enjoy class. So thanks for watching.